Welcome to Animal Atlas. Come with us around the globe and explore the animal world and its jungle animals and desert creatures. We'll meet wildlife on the savannah and see our underwater friends. And animals from the Arctic Circle. Anywhere, everywhere animals live. It's always an adventure. Today on Animal Atlas, we're headed to some of our favorite places. To the zoo, and the Wild Animal Park, and the Conservation Center, and the Animal Sanctuary. All places where animals reside in captivity, and not in the wild. Even when it looks like the wild. The word zoo is short for zoological, and so zoo is usually short for zoological park, or zoological garden. What is zoology exactly? The biological science that deals with animals, animal life, and the animal kingdom. All the things we love the most at Animal Atlas. Don't you agree? Who's at the zoo? Just about everybody you can think of. Hey, wait a minute. Domestic piglets at the zoo? Yes, domestic animals are often exhibited at the zoo too. Think of the petting zoo, where friendly goats scamper about and look for a handout. Barnyard or farm exhibits are common at many zoos, complete with the barn and animals housed inside, where an elderly pony might be living in a stall next to a mighty draft horse. Not far from a handsome member of the bovine family. Farm animal exhibits are just as important as wildlife exhibits, because so many of us live in big cities and never see much wildlife beyond our favorite house pets. Or maybe the occasional neighborhood visitor. Depending on your neighborhood, of course. Domestic animals are those animals who have lived with us and have been bred by us for thousands of years. From horses to sheep to cattle of all descriptions. Generally, domestic animals will also be found outside of the zoo on domestic farms, or ranches, or on hobby farms. Despite being familiar to us, when these animals are encountered at the zoo, they are often amusing, entertaining, and infinitely interesting. But let's be honest, most of us head to the zoo to see the biggest, tallest, cutest, most magnificent, scariest, unusual, and peculiar animals on the planet. From the king of beasts, to the lord of the jungle, to the gentle giants of the lowland forest, to the pint-sized heroes of the faraway grasslands, to the unusual animal dwellers of the magical rainforests. At the zoo, there are acrobats to behold and water ballets to marvel at. There are opportunities to touch and to be drawn into another world. We might even think that zoos have been created completely for our entertainment and edification. But there's far more to the zoo than just a good time. You'll testify to that, won't you? Zoos are now places where endangered animals can find refuge, as individuals and as a species. Barbary lions no longer exist in the wild. Nor do white Bengal tigers, but they do live quite happily out of Africa, near Camp Verde, Arizona, and at the Wildlife World Zoo in Prescott, Arizona. Due to a loss of habitat from deforestation and human expansion, very few giant pandas live in the wild anymore in the mountainous regions of central China, but they can live in peace at the zoo. Manatees, an aquatic mammal that lives in the warm, shallow waters along the American Gulf Coast, are likewise threatened with a loss of habitat. Not to mention pollution and injury from boat propellers. See those scars? Being big, graceful, yet slow-moving doesn't help much when a powerboat is bearing down, does it? Sometimes, human intervention is the equivalent of saving a life. Being historically mistaken for a magical mermaid, or even a mystical unicorn, hasn't helped these animals' chance of survival in the wild either. There are many ways that zoos help to preserve our favorite species. And we'll learn about them when we come back to Animal Atlas. But first, let's see if you can guess this animal fact. The first exotic animal known to have been exhibited in the United States was A, an elephant, B, a tiger, C, a camel, or D, a lion. The answer coming up when we return to Animal Atlas. We're back. Did you guess the right answer to our question? The first exotic animal known to have been exhibited in the United States was, drumroll please, the answer is D, a lion. Yes, it was in Boston in 1710 that an African lion was first put on exhibit. This noble animal has long fascinated humans. It was the lion, after all, who appeared in the Colosseum with the gladiators at the height of the Roman Empire. And it was the lion who, unfortunately, attracted the big game hunters to the African savannas. Just a year later, the camel made its American debut. Even though the camel's cousin, the llama, a native of South America, had been living a domestic life in the New World for thousands of years. It was a 2-year-old female Asian elephant, much like this one, who arrived in New York in 1796 and toured as an exhibit for the next 22 years. Nearly a century later, in 1882, the great showman P.T. Barnum brought the famed African bull elephant, Jumbo, who looked a lot like this elephant, to the United States to be exhibited. In the United States, exotic animals were historically singular exhibits, until the start of traveling menageries, which is an exotic word for a collection of wild animals. What might make up an early menagerie? James and William Howe's New York Menagerie toured the East Coast in the 1830s with an elephant, a rhinoceros, a camel, 2 tigers, a polar bear, a couple of monkeys, and several parrots. What a menagerie! But a traveling menagerie was not a nice place to live. Animals were housed in nothing more than transportable cages. Hardly a life for any animal, wouldn't you agree? Zoological gardens became popular in the United States after the Civil War, and their popularity has increased steadily for the past 150 years all around the world. Nowadays, most zoos have moved away from caged animals on display to keeping many animals in habitats that replicate their natural environments. Here, at the Phoenix Zoo, an African savanna has been painstakingly created to resemble the real thing. And groups of animals indigenous to those grasslands live there together in harmony. Without the natural predators, of course. They get their own places to live. At zoos, we find rainforests, Sonoran deserts, canopies of trees, and even swamps. And within them, animals who would dwell there naturally. For animals who are used to what we might call a winter wonderland lifestyle, environments have been created that most closely approximate aspects of the animal's natural environment. These penguins may not be hopping around the Antarctic, but their habitat is cooled to the happy penguin temperature of 38 degrees. Though polar bears may live where there is a great deal of snow and ice, they are also quite used to a rocky landscape. So while this may look barren to us, this is a polar bear's kind of neighborhood. Most important to this great animal, though, is cold water. The polar bear spends much of its life at sea, and the best zoos provide these majestic creatures with their own private pool, cooled to a nearly freezing temperature. Ah, polar bear heaven. A number of other animals are water happy, and the best zoos provide them with a place to get their feet wet, or to dive right in. From wallowing holes to private jacuzzis to bathing fountains and even stadium-sized accommodations, or if nothing else, a good soaking tub. This Siberian tiger not only has his own jungle, but his own pond as well. Pond dwellers at zoos also include an array of turtles and sliders, not to mention swans and ducks, and of course, alligators. Here, Lucy the goose is provided not only with her own wading pool, but a hose too. Ah, what a life. Watering holes are important for animals in other ways as well. The giraffe can bend down to take a drink, and an elephant can stop by for a shower. A number of monkeys and lemurs can live uncaged on an island. That's right, lemurs can't or won't swim, so here at the Wildlife World Zoo, they're allowed to run free on their own lemur island, and nobody needs to fear them getting away. Though some monkeys swim, spider monkeys don't. So they too, like the lemur, can live happily on their own island at the zoo. As long as there are trees, it's a wonderful life. As we've seen, this wouldn't work for the tiger or the polar bear. For some animals, it's not so much a body of water that's important, but space and shelter. Here at Out of Africa, every big carnivore gets not only a huge open space, but a custom-built earth berm shelter. These are good places for taking a nap, cooling off, or watching the world go by. Sometimes the roommates seem unconventional, but if everybody's happy, why not? When we come back to Animal Atlas, we'll meet some more animals at the zoo. But first, let's see if you can guess this next animal fact. Hiding a captive animal's food is A, a way to train animals to do tricks. B, done for all captive animals. C, a form of enrichment. Or D, not very nice. Don't go away. The answer coming up right after this on Animal Atlas. We're back. Did you guess the right answer to our question? Hiding a captive animal's food is... The answer is C, a form of enrichment. Here, volunteers painstakingly hide Shosh the black bear's bowl of fruit and oats. But he's not fooled. He knows just where to look. And that yam in the fence? No problem for a black bear of his size. The keepers aren't teasing him, they're just finding ways to stimulate him, both mentally and physically. Why? Though living in captivity can be very tranquil, it's usually not very challenging. For example, prey animals don't have to fear stalking predators, since their food is delivered. No hunting required. An easy life? Yes, but often a boring one. Inca, the black jaguar at Heritage Park Zoo, enjoys the hunt. So his food is placed in different parts of his habitat so that he can hunt it down. Dolphins no longer do tricks in captivity. They are rewarded for enriching behaviors by trainers and are stimulated in the same way we would be if we were playing some challenging game. But enrichment is not all about hiding the food or being rewarded with food. Many animals are fed outright. to their satisfaction. Or by hand, like this gibbon, or this gorilla, or this penguin, or this lemur, as a way of bonding with the animal. Of course, touch is another way for trainers to bond with the animals while demonstrating affection. A lot of zoo animals appreciate this, as do a lot of us humans. Enrichment can also come through having what we think of as toys within their habitat. See this elephant enclosure at the Phoenix Zoo? These Asian elephants are supplied with a huge variety of things to exercise them, both physically and mentally. Pigs like things to play with, as do rhinos. And apes like the chance to use tools, or to experiment with various things within their enclosures. Very becoming. So when zoo animals aren't out on what we think of as a nature preserve, but in their own enclosures, we will often see a wondrous array of toy-like things. Just take a look. Sometimes space to run is all important, or space to hop, or a place to swing, like an acrobat. Koalas require eucalyptus trees because that's where they live, and what they eat. Arboreal monkeys require trees. And some tamarins aren't happy unless they have their own condos. Sometimes we look at magnificent zoo animals and wish they could be returned to the wild. Good people often wish that would be possible, but sometimes it's just not. Take Inca the jaguar. He was rejected by his mother when he was only 2 days old, and so he had to be raised by humans. He's been imprinted to humans, which means he lacks the skills he should have as a wild animal. But Inca is nearly 18 years old, and so captivity suits him just fine. Abby the mountain lion was found on a burn pile in Montana. Her burns were treated, but she also became imprinted to humans. Shosh was an orphan bear cub. This raccoon's mother was killed by a dog when she was a baby. And Kabuki the badger's mother was killed by a car. Toy, the coyote himself, was hit by a car and required extensive surgery to repair his back legs. And so, the wild is no place for him any longer. Are these sad stories? They're survivor stories, and good ones. These are animals we should be proud to know, and we owe the Heritage Park Zoo a round of applause for caring for them. The zoo is also home for white alligators, who wouldn't survive in the blazing sun, and giraffes who have deformed necks, and rhinos who are too old to breed but are quite content, like these two white rhinos, Notch and Half Ear, to live out their retirement years in the Arizona sunshine, wowing visitors with their mere size and presence. Yes, elderly animals who might perish in the wild are cared for at the zoo. Often at the zoo, there's an environment where breeding is possible, and the offspring are welcomed. Survival rates change dramatically for animals in captivity, as does longevity. In the wild, the mortality rate for newborn giraffes can be as high as 50%. But at the zoo, infant mortality is rare. And giraffes grow up strong and active. In the wild, giraffes seldom live more than 25 years. But in captivity, they can live a good decade longer. Are those extra years worth the loss of the wild? The good zookeepers and zoos are trying to make the answer a resounding yes. In fact, sometimes zoos are responsible for stopping an animal's extinction. The Arabian oryx once ranged over most of the Arabian and Sinai peninsulas. But by the 1960s, there were very few left in existence. The Phoenix Zoo started the first captive breeding herd program in any zoo. And many of these animals were reintroduced back to their native lands. At the zoo, there are many success stories and incredible tales of survival. At the zoo, we can get to know animals as a species and as individuals. Zoos are places where many animals can live in peace with their families and can breed successfully. Some may have the chance to return to the wild. Others may never have that chance, but that's okay too. Right, Shosh? Oh yeah. For more fun animal facts and news, visit our website, at www.animalatlas.tv. See you there. Don't go away. Animal Atlas will be right back. Until next time on Animal Atlas.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Phil.
People out there?
Yep, people.
Ring around the rosy. I'm dizzy.
Got him.
To be or not to be?
Bubbles.
And they're off. As they run the first turn, the zebra's in the lead because no one else is racing.
Darling, alone at last.
Tag, you're it.
Once again, we've traveled the globe from North and South America to Africa and Asia to Australia and every fascinating place in between. We've met all kinds of incredible animals and learned some important facts about their ability to survive and flourish on our planet. And with our help, we'll make sure they're around for a long time to come. Join us next week for another amazing adventure on Animal Atlas.